Aloha and welcome to the G'day Sally Show. I'm Sally Squires, entertaining the world. And tonight I'm going to be reading chapter 8 from my book, Mama Kuti's Adventures. And chapter 8 is called Mama Kuti's Newfound Fame. Mama Kuti had never thought of herself as famous before. But with the discovery of her dinosaur bone in her vegetable garden, word got around quite quickly, and people began to visit her as they were curious to see what a dinosaur bone looked like, and to congratulate Mama Kuti on her amazing find. Many of them had also heard about her huge giant pumpkin that had grown above the dinosaur bone, and others wanted to hear all about her adventures, and especially about Mama Kuti's amazing journey with all her animals floating down the road in a huge pumpkin boat during the flood. One day, a reporter from the local newspaper called to see her. He interviewed her and even took her photograph with the enormous bone. But when he asked her what she was going to do with such an enormous bone, Mama Kuti had to admit that she hadn't decided. Privately, she had been thinking about exactly that. What was the best thing to do when a person discovers a dinosaur bone in their vegetable patch? She had even had a long discussion with her friend the baker, when she delivered her basket full of her special cheese and butter and milk to his store. He scratched his head, as he was totally perplexed and at a loss on what to advise her. Dinosaur bones in the garden were just something that he had never come across in all his years, and he could not even try to imagine how he could advise Mama Kuti as to what she should do. Then a professor and her archaeology students wrote to Mama Kuti and asked if they could come and examine her dinosaur bone, and Mama Kuti was delighted to see them, as she thought that they might be able to advise her. You see, the problem was that this particular dinosaur bone was so large, and the dinosaur to which the bone belonged had died and fallen at such an inconvenient angle that much of the bone would be lying right under her cottage. Mama Kuti had consulted her compass and done several hours' work measuring the angles associated with the part of the bone that she had so far uncovered, and thus realized that that was exactly where the rest of the bone would be, right underneath her cottage. Now, any person who was not Mama Kuti might say, well, just pull down your cottage so you can get to the rest of the dinosaur bone. But that was not what was in Mama Kuti's heart, because, you see, Mama Kuti had built her cottage herself. She had designed it just the way she wanted it to be. She had even made all the bricks out of mud and stones and straw, and then she had built all the walls and made the windows, and even sawn the wood for the doors. So Mama Kuti was definitely not going to pull down her cottage that she had so lovingly built with her very own 2 hands. So now you can see her dilemma. And as the news about the now famous Mama Kuti travelled further and further afield, more and more people started to come and see Mama Kuti and the famous dinosaur bone. Many of them tried to make suggestions to her about what to do, but it seemed that the basis of all of those suggestions were that she should pull down her beloved cottage to get at the rest of the huge bone. But then Mama Kuti had a wonderful idea. If I keep the bone just as it is, she said to herself, more and more people will come to see it, and those people will be hungry and thirsty after their journey. So I know what I will do. I will set up a cafe in my cottage and feed them and sell them my very own lemonade as well as my food. Yes, that is exactly what I will do. Then I will not ever need to pull down my cottage. And that is exactly what Mama Kuti did. She painted a colourful sign that said Dinosaur Bone Cafe, and people were delighted to be able to have tasty meals made for them by Mama Kuti, who used the vegetables she grew in her garden, and also served them the cheeses she made from her goat and cow's milk, and made sweet and juicy lemonade from her lemon tree, and also made tasty apple tarts from the apples that grew on her apple tree. So that's what Mama Kuti decided to do about the dinosaur bone. Aloha and welcome to the G'day Sally Show. I'm Sally Squires, entertaining the world. And tonight I'm going to be reading chapter 9 from my book, Mama Kuti's Adventures. And chapter 9 is called Mama Kuti and the Dinosaur Mystery. Finally, the professor and her students arrived. They were very excited when they examined Mama Kuti's very own dinosaur bone. The professor decided that this particular bone belonged to a dinosaur that science had never come across before. She sat with Mama Kuti for hours, it seemed, trying to convince her that it was really necessary to pull down her cottage so that scientists could examine the rest of the bone. But Mama Kuti was adamant she would not destroy her beautiful cottage. Then one night, Mama Kuti had a dream. She dreamt of dinosaurs, not only in her vegetable patch, but also in her field next door to her cottage. The next morning, Mama Kuti could hardly wait to get her spade from her shed so that she could dig in her field next door. Her donkey and cow were very curious about what she was doing. They stood there transfixed as they watched Mama Kuti digging. But after a while they both became bored and wandered off to find more juicy green grass to eat, so they left Mama Kuti to her digging on her own. Soon Mama Kuti had made a huge hole, and when she stopped digging to look at what might have been in the bottom of the huge hole, she nearly fell down in surprise at what her digging had uncovered. As the sun sent its beams down into her huge hole, Mama Kuti could see what looked like myriads of beautiful multicoloured rainbows. But these rainbows were not up in the sky. They were in the shape of dinosaur bones down in Mama Kuti's huge hole. Staring down at these enormous rainbow-coloured bones, Mama Kuti realised that some of the bones she had found had pearlized to create the beautiful rainbow colours. She had always known that the soil in her garden and in her fields, because she had several fields surrounding her cottage, the soil was rich with minerals from an ancient volcano. That is why I have always been able to grow such delicious and nutritious vegetables and fruit, she thought with a smile. Now Mama Kuti knew that her latest discovery of more dinosaur bones, which were pearlized, was something that many people, including the professor and her students, would be most interested in. She was determined that she would not allow anyone to dig up her fields, to dislodge these amazing discoveries that she had made in her very own field. So she sat down under her magical tree in her backyard and drank some of the delicious sweet and juicy lemonade that she had made from the lemons on her lemon tree, and had a very long think about just what she should do. "I don't want to be greedy," she said to her magical tree. "I do want to share my dinosaur discoveries with people who are interested and want to see them, but I will not have them moved from my garden and field." So she sat and thought some more, and then she had a very brilliant idea. "I know what I will do, tree. I will build a museum in my field that is next to my latest discovery, and then people can visit and learn all about dinosaurs in my museum, and then they can actually see the bones just where I found them." But first Mama Kuti decided that she needed to build a fenced area in another one of her fields so that she could move her donkey and cow, and maybe even her goat as well, to a new location so that they would be safe from all the visitors that would come to her museum. So that is exactly what she did. There was plenty of grass and shady trees and even a small pond, so her animals would have plenty to eat and sweet, clean water to drink. Then Mama Kuti designed her very own museum, and she began to build it in exactly the same way that she had built her cottage. She wanted to make it a very friendly building, not like those large steel and glass harsh buildings that she had seen in one of her rare visits to the city. "No," she thought, "I will build my museum just like a warm and friendly big cottage, so that when people come to visit, they will feel immediately welcome and enjoy their visit as if they were visiting with their friends or relatives. My museum will give them such happy memories that they will go home with wonderful feelings of having been to a very special place." So now Mama Kuti's going to build a museum. Aloha and welcome to the Good Day Sally show. I'm Sally Squires, entertaining the world, and tonight I'm going to read chapter 10 from my book Mama Kuti's Adventures. and chapter 10 is called Mama Kuti Builds an Inn. Mama Kuti was quite astounded at how her life had turned out. She had always been very grateful for her cottage that she had built with her own 2 hands, and her vegetable garden which she had hoed with her own 2 hands, and for her goat which she had saved up to buy, and for her chickens which she had also saved up to buy. And she was so grateful to live in an area with very caring neighbours who were so happy to buy her milks and cheeses and goat milk soap. That she also had a cow given to her by a grateful farmer, and a donkey which had come to her from the wilds, was also something that she had seen as an incredible blessing. And not only that, but the cow, which the farmer had thought was a terrible nuisance to him, turned out to be a very happy cow when it came to live in Mama Kuti's green grassy field, and made a friend of her donkey. And Mama Kuti was astounded and so very grateful that the storm had brought her a magical tree, which grew happily in her backyard, and which provided her with shade and fruits and vegetables that had not been growing in her garden until then. And it was so magical that it had provided the wood to line the well she had dug, so that there would be plenty of water for the thirsty leaves on her magical tree branches. And when she decided to build a donkey cart, her magical tree had provided not only the wood for the cart, but also the wheels. "Truly, I am the luckiest person alive," she thought, as she sipped some juicy sweet lemonade, which she had made from the juicy lemons on her tree, when she had planted the seeds from the lemon her magical tree had created for her, but which had been eaten by that greedy bird. "Thank you, tree," said Mama Kuti, as she sat under the shade of the tree sipping her lemonade. Thinking back about the later events in her life, Mama Kuti felt that her life was truly astounding. Not only had she been blessed with finding the diamond that had enabled her to build the school, the Mama Kuti Academy, for the students whose school had been burnt down, but she had also discovered a rare, unknown dinosaur bone when she was digging in her vegetable patch after the floods. And because so many people had wanted to come and see the huge dinosaur bone, she had made her dinosaur bone cafe. And then she had built the museum next door when she discovered more dinosaur bones in her field. Mama Kuti was sitting and thinking under her magical tree this day, because many of the people who had been visiting her cafe and museum had asked her where they could stay during their visit. And so Mama Kuti decided that she should build an inn to house all these visitors, as she knew that there would be more and more people coming to see the wonders of the very ancient dinosaur bones. She was determined that she would not, as the professor had wanted her to, no, she would not destroy her beautiful cottage that she had built with her own 2 hands. "No, my dinosaur bones must stay exactly where they are," she said. And when she had found the pearlized dinosaur bones in her field, she was equally determined that those dinosaur bones would also remain right there in her field. "I will," she said to her tree this morning, "I will build an inn for my visitors. But tree, I will need help from you, and I will also need to find several workers in the village to help me build my inn." So that very morning, Mama Kuti set off, firstly to tell her friend the baker of her new building plan. Her baker friend was very enthusiastic about her plan, and he said he would help in any way he could. Immediately he wrote out a sign and put it in his window. It said, "Workers wanted." Mama Kuti was also quite sure that to build an inn would take a lot of wood, and she did not want to have more trees cut down. In one of her fields she had a huge crowd of bamboo. "That's what I will do," she decided. "I will build my inn from bamboo and save the trees. Not only will it be a strong building, but I will design it so that breezes will blow through to keep all my guests cool. Not only that, but I will make all the beds and furniture from bamboo as well." She knew that bamboo grew very fast, and so if her workers needed more bamboo than she already had for her building, she could plant more and watch it grow. "It grows more than a foot each day, so I will have always plenty to build with." The next morning, Mama Kuti had only just woken up and fed her chickens and milked her goat and cow and had her egg breakfast when she started to get knocks on her front door. She was astounded when she looked out of her window to see a long line of villagers waiting to speak to her. They had all come to apply for a job to help her build her inn. Most of them carried tools and had already packed their lunches as well, as they were prepared to start work that very day. So Mama Kuti's going to have quite a lot of help to build her inn. You know, Hawaii is a microcosm of the world, with people here from all over the world. And Noa Noa Hawaii is a microcosm of the traditional arts of the world, with beautiful patterns from many countries. They've been in business for more than 40 years with wonderful Hawaii-designed batik clothing. Their hand-dyed and handmade clothes have patterns that are based on traditional kapa and tapa designs from Hawaii, Polynesia, Micronesia, Indonesia, even New Zealand and Africa. So check out the wonderful items that Noa Noa has on their website, www.noanoahawaii.com.